Tonight, it's a race against time as New Mexico cyclists compete for national recognition.
The one thing with the time trial that I know I've never done yet, and in order to get my best performance, I need to do is just totally focus the whole time. Just thinking, can I hurt a little bit more? Can I go a little bit harder?
And meet the builder of the bikes, Dave Porter.
Ever since I've been about 10 years old, it was something that I had in the back of my head that I wanted to have the best bicycle in the world.
That's tonight on Colores.
Growing up in eastern New Mexico, I had no idea they even raced bicycles. I guess you could say I was a little sheltered, maybe living there. Certainly I knew about horse racing, but I was living in Albuquerque a couple of years, using a bike to get around at the University of New Mexico. And I guess I stumbled into a pro shop in the area one day, and I saw these guys in pictures in black shorts and these monkey outfits on, and I asked the guy, what's the deal here? And he goes, the shop owner said, oh, those are bike racers. And I says, oh wow, I didn't know they raced bicycles.
I guess about 4 years ago I started doing a lot of the tours that are supposedly non-competitive with some friends of mine that I'd been riding with a lot, and I'd come in on a lot of those and be the first woman in. So the next year I got a USCF license, and that was 3 years ago, and I liked it immediately pretty much, and went to the national championships that year and did well there, and that encouraged me to keep going, and I ended up doing about 65 races that year.
Well, I got into cycling when I was around 9 years old. I was really into model trains and railroading and all that. I was real fascinated by the old-fashioned trains and things like that. And my dad was into touring, cycle touring and like that. And I was around 9. And for my 9th birthday, what we did was my dad compromised. We went up to Durango and we rode the narrow gauge railroad one way, and then we rode our bikes the other way. So that's what we did for my 9th birthday, and that was my first real ride. And after that, I just felt like I could do anything. It was awesome. I went back to school the next day and said I just rode 50 miles, and people were just amazed.
Cyclists in every part of the country tend to have their own discipline that they gravitate towards. In Colorado, it's very mountainous, and your average Colorado bicycle racer tends to be a better hill climber. In some other parts of the country, say the Midwest or even Southern California, your average rider is a better sprinter or race finisher. They do very well in head-to-head competition. In New Mexico, there's not that many people that ride. The space between the cities is very large. People tend to ride a lot alone, and I think that fosters a time trial strength here. In fact, nationally, riders from New Mexico fare very well in time trials, and that's because I think, like I say, you're riding in the open spaces, you're riding a lot alone. I mean, there's wind here in the spring. It's things like that. Not to mention, we have some world-class time trialists that some of the local riders emulate and, you know, try to learn from.
Well, I think a lot of why New Mexicans seem to be so into the time trial is just because we have this fast course out in Moriarty, and so people do it a lot, and it's a real prestige thing. People will say, you know, what's your best time, and everybody does it. Everybody who races in New Mexico usually ends up going out and doing the record challenge and the district championships out on that course. And so it's become a real prestige thing. And having riders around like John Fry and Kent Bostic and Jane Marshall who do so well at it, you have these people that you look up to and hear about all the things that they do, so people kind of model themselves on that.
People ask, why is it so fast out here? Well, there are several reasons the course is fast. Number one, it lies at an altitude of over 6,000 feet. Therefore, the air is a little thinner and you don't have as much resistance to push through. A second item is the road lies in a direct north-south line. There are no turns at all. A third reason, the course is extremely flat. If you look down the course here, you'll see the only hill on the course is down here. That's the only uphill, and on a return, it's the only downhill. Other than that, it's pancake flat.
David, what's your best event?
Probably time trials, most likely. I don't really like the hills, but gotta do it. You know, you gotta do the hills to be good.
What's the hardest part about training for you?
Training by yourself, day after day. It's hard.
How many miles a week do you put in?
Anywhere from 250 to 300.
Usually I do between 250 and 300. Sometimes this summer I've done as much as about 450, which for the women is real high. The men will do more than that, but our longest races are generally 60, 65 miles, so you don't need to do a lot more than 300 miles a week. It's hard to have that much of a personal life if you're really trying to race full time. And especially if you have something else like work or school, and then you're trying to race and train, then that doesn't leave a whole lot of other time. And one of the things with training hard and racing a lot is that you need to rest a lot, which is something that family members and people like that don't understand, that you're really tired and you want to just rest. You don't really feel like going and helping them do whatever things need to be done.
There's millions of people out there advice and say how I should be. They're twisted and they will never be any influence on me, but you will always be.
Well, when I started racing, I would race maybe a couple times a year. Last year I raced 134 times a year. So obviously my training has changed a bunch. I probably started out maybe putting in 5,000 miles a year, and now a top flight racer, 20,000.
Any serious racer in the past has had a set of rollers. Nowadays they're making other training devices, but I still think rollers are probably the best. They provide very little resistance. So basically what you're working on is your spin and your form. Try not to bounce too much, getting optimum seat height, holding a straight line, riding straight ahead. See if I can go no hands here. Okay. Some people can watch TV and read books while doing this. The Russians make a set that's half the width of this. So obviously it teaches you to ride in a very straight line, because on top of this metal cylinder, it's very easy to turn the front wheel. So you ride these for, say, a half hour a day, 3 times a day, and pretty soon you're going down the road in a perfectly straight line. And in time trialing, this perfectly straight line can save you a lot of time.
And I raced for about 5 or 6 years. You guess like you could say, oh, I was a weekend warrior, is kind of a term they use. And I was working full time, and I was pretty much resigned to racing 3 or 4 times a month if I could, maybe only once a month if I could. So it was working out pretty well for me. I was enjoying my cycling. I was earning a living. I was going to school part-time. So things were pretty much stable in my life. And then after I set this national record, the coaches took a look at me, even though they didn't know who I was, took a chance on me, you might say, and asked me if I wanted to be in the national team. And this is really a surprise because I was 27 years old. And people say, well, gosh, you're getting a little bit old to be a competitive bike racer. But here I am 6 years later. And so every year that I've been on the national team, I have improved. And from that point, my cycling really took off.
The disadvantage that I've found in the past couple of years trying to do it full time is that I'm not making enough, I'm not getting enough monetary reward from it to keep doing it full time, because I'm basically putting the rest of my life on hold. I'm not completing my school, and I don't have a job, and I'm not saving any money or anything. I'm just spending my money trying to race. And so I guess next year it'll be real. It may be different depending on what happens with sponsors, because as a woman doing this race, doing bike racing, I can't turn professional, and I'm not going to make a lot of money ever. So I get a lot of personal satisfaction out of it, and that's what you've got to get, because if you don't, you're in it for the wrong reasons, and because you're not going to get rich out of it.
I still sit back and wonder sometimes, like, gosh, what if I really got the national team, would I still be racing? And I'd like to think I would be still racing, but certainly not at this level. I never would have reached this level of achievement that I have without the help of a cycling sponsorship, the U.S. national team, things like that.
My first national record, I went 51 minutes and 57 seconds for 25 miles. And the distance has since been changed to 24.8 miles. It's a metric distance, and now they call it 40 kilometers. I set the record there at 50 minutes 2 seconds, but I pushed it back to 49 minutes 46 seconds, and currently the mark stands at 48:44.
Cut that out.
Since I've been chasing some of these national and world records for many years now, I've also been real keen and aware of some of the technology used in some of these attempts. In the early records that I set, I reduced some of my spoke count to reduce wind turbulence. I put my handlebars in a vise to make them smaller. I was doing all kinds of crazy things. I shaved my arms to reduce air resistance, and a lot of it was hit and miss because it really wasn't the wind tunnel testing nor the time trialing background in the United States to find out what worked and what didn't. But basically over the years the equipment has evolved, and this is about what we're dealing with right now. Is this what they call a funny bike with double disc wheels and aerodynamic handlebars. These disc wheels are designed to cheat the wind. They create no turbulence. They're hollow on the inside. Also on the wheel is a very skinny tire, capable of pressures as high as 200 psi. The frame tubes on these are aerodynamic section, and it's also a composite frame, which makes it very light, stiff, and most of all for this event, aerodynamic. Things like $50 sunglasses and, like I said, the flashy attire and the disc wheels and the triathlon style handlebars, they're making this stuff very appealing to a lot of people in the sport too. And it is really kind of neat stuff. The special saddles developed extra soft, and there you got the arm cups and such. Everything complements every other piece. But an important thing, of course, is the motor.
And people think, oh, the disc wheel is going to do it for me, the triathlon handlebars are going to do it for me, the special composite frame set's going to do it for me. And the truth is it's not. These are things that shave seconds off, and the average person who invests thousands of dollars in high technology bike equipment, they would be much better off just losing a few pounds, training a little harder, getting more experience in race situations.
It's an addiction, you know, cycling's an addiction, you know, just like any other thing. Once you get into it, you can't stop, because, you know, if you stop training, you can't race, and racing is so much fun that you have to keep training day after day. You know, it might be nuts, but racing is so much fun that it just keeps your motivation. I don't think I could train like I do if I didn't race. I mean, I'm only, you know, 16, and I don't train half as much as, you know, John Fry or, you know, the professional riders. And, you know, I just look ahead and I say, oh wow, I don't know if I can, you know, push myself that much harder, you know. But I guess, you know, as the years go by, I'll get stronger, and we'll see what happens.
So we got a minute and a half, 2 minutes and a half, 3 minutes.
I was, you know, pretty laid back about it, and I didn't feel too good. Things haven't been going right lately. I crashed, and you know, it didn't go too well. I was hurting real bad, and I don't think I have anything to be disappointed about. You know, I did a 27:30 and did 26 in June, so I can tell, you know, I'm not 100% right now. I just have to get back up to where I was.
Now what happens?
I'm going to rest for a while, take it easy, and shoot for next season.
One thing with the time trial that I know I've never done yet, and in order to get my best performance, I need to do is just totally focus the whole time. Just thinking, can I hurt a little bit more? Can I go a little bit harder? Well, it's real close. I wish that we would have had we had a headwind on the way back and a tailwind on the way out, and I wish it would have been the other way around, because well, most people like that better. I definitely like that better, because then you're fresher in the headwind. But I felt good about it, and it's definitely the best, well, it's the fastest time I've ever done in a TT, and I think I felt that I was concentrating in it the best that I ever have for the TT, so maybe next year. It's not that far off.
How far off were you of the national record?
I think about somewhere between 15 and 20 seconds.
Basically, I think preparing for a time trial revolves around controlling your conditions. For me, it begins days before the event. You have to sort of project how you're going to feel days leading up to it. You want to just create a calm and a focus, an environment where you feel you're going to put out your best.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
I was about 2 miles down the road, I started getting my legs, and then I really let it rip. I knew that it was going to be a headwind back, so I just said I had to make the most of it. And at the turnaround point, I looked real good on the guy who eventually finished second, Ken Bostic. And I just knew that I'd have to just bite the bullet and hold on. And luckily I was able to push the gear over the top and come in a few seconds ahead of him and take the record.
Now what?
Well, what's next, you say? You always reassign your priorities. I say, well, no, I know I can go faster. I'd like to push this record back sometime next year. I certainly won't try it this year because just putting on and promoting an event of this scale takes a lot of organization. Now, this puts me on a good track just to do some world records at the Velodrome in October.
I'm a bicycle frame builder, which not your typical run-of-the-mill job, but ever since I've been about 10 years old, it was something that I had in the back of my head that I wanted to have the best bicycle in the world. I had originally worked at Presbyterian Hospital for close to 15 years, and finally a friend who owned a bike store decided he was going to get out of the business. So I used my retirement money from the hospital and bought myself a little bike store. And so I've been doing it full time now for about 6 years here on Harvard Street. And so far we're having a lot of fun. We've managed to compile 29 national records, 2 world records, and a couple of unofficial world records on the bikes that I've built here. And it's all using local talent, which Albuquerque has plenty of. For some unknown reason to me, all the kids around here like to do what they call time trial, which is a race against the clock, just to see how fast they can go across a set measured distance. You know, around 80 to 84, when some of the first so-called funny bikes appeared at the Olympics, we decided, well, we've got all this talent, let's see what we can do to make a fast bike like some of these Olympic types. Consequently, I think the bikes have evolved into probably some of the fastest in the world. Obviously, if we're setting world records with them, we're doing real well.
These big bikes, my cords don't seem to...
When you do get to the custom bike, what you're looking at is something that was specifically built to that person's anatomic measurements. And that translates, yes, to optimum performance, comfort, and enjoyability, because they've actually helped in the design process. So it gives them a sense of, hey, this is truly my bike. Furthermore, in a custom bike, it's one, at least in my case, it's one guy that designs the bike, draws it, builds it, paints it, assembles it, and watches the customer ride off with a smile on their face, hopefully. So in that regard, I think my quality control is much better than most companies, because it's just me, and I have a very strict standard that I won't dip below.
this an art? Is this a craft? Is this a mechanical job? It's a little bit of everything. I at first considered it very mechanical because it was very difficult to learn the process, to get my techniques down. After that, then it becomes more of a craft, finally into an art. I've applied several times to some of the local art fairs, put the bikes in there, and they continually have turned me down because I guess they don't think that building a bicycle is an art form. I think it's beautiful, functional art.
This Colorado's program is available on home video cassette for $19.95, plus shipping and handling. To order, call 1-800-328-5663.